And hello there, folks. This is Troy with another C Word update. For those of you who aren't keeping track, these are more serious videos. They're not the happy-go-lucky fun and games videos. So if you come here looking for a happy-go-lucky fun and games video, you need to click away and find a different video. This is where I keep track of what's going on with my cancer treatment. For those of you not familiar, a couple of months back I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. I have a mass in my rectum, a polyp in my ascending colon, and then a whole bunch of abnormal lymph nodes, and then a few spots in my liver and several spots in each lung. And although we've not done biopsies that have shown, exactly what type of cancer it is in my liver and lungs and whatever, the fact that I had colon cancer in 2 different places in my colon generally means that if I had a hangnail right now, they would say it was because of the cancer. So we are treating that with chemotherapy. They decided that the tumor in my rectum was not immediately life-threatening, so we decided to go with the chemotherapy. So I've just finished my second, excuse me, I'm just now getting where I can drink again real good. So I've just finished my second round of the chemotherapy, which is the first course of treatment, I think is how they described it. Basically, I had chemotherapy for a few days, off for a couple of weeks, and chemotherapy for a few days. And now I'm going to be off for a few weeks, and then we're going to do the same thing all over again, and that will make up the first complete course of treatment. Symptoms: lack of appetite, irregular bowel movements, just generally feeling blah. In fact, a lot of the blah feeling. And a couple days ago, a new sensation, vertigo, loss of balance, complete and utter, and not just, I feel a little dizzy, I need to sit down, or I feel a little dizzy, I need to walk a little more carefully, because I can do that. Between the diabetes and the high blood pressure, I'm familiar with dizziness, and I can walk steadily even when I'm dizzy. I can deal. But this was something entirely different, and I'm going to call it vertigo just because that's what the internet suggests. But what happened was I came time to stand up, and I felt like I was falling forward, and I could see the floor right here in front of me. And I reached out to, just to lay down on the floor, and no matter how far I reached out, no matter how close I reached the floor, no matter how close the floor just seemed to be right up here at my nose, I never actually fell onto the floor. And instead, I felt pressure on my shoulders and the back of my head, where I fell against the door on the other side of the room. And so the whole time I felt like I was falling forward. The whole time I could see the floor right here in my face. The whole time, it looked like I could just reach out and touch the floor. The whole time I was doing that, I was falling backwards. That was a big surprise. So once the room quit spinning and everything leveled out, and it wasn't so much the room was spinning, it's just that the floor was tilted and I was falling. So once everything, quit moving around, I got up, lay down for a minute, felt great. So the next time it happened, I didn't even try to, I just sat down. Poof. Sat down, wait for the floor to level out again. There'll be a lot of editing as I'm trying to cut out all my coughing and wheezing. But just before I started recording, I drank a lot, trying to, rehydrate, and a little bit went down the wrong pipe. So naturally I've got this little tickle just right in the back of my throat. But now that I've figured out how to deal with the vertigo, and just, when you feel that little off center, just sit down on the floor, wait for it to pass, get back, get up, go on what you're doing. Now that I've figured out how to deal with that, of course, it hasn't happened again. That was just something I think the chemo did. My blood pressure, surprisingly, I've had to stop taking my blood pressure medicine and my cholesterol medicine, because both of those can affect the blood pressure. And the cholesterol medicine is supposed to make the blood pressure go up, but instead my blood pressure has been below normal. And when I take the cholesterol medicine, which is supposed to make my blood pressure go up, it actually seems to bring it down further. And of course the blood pressure medicine I'm taking normally, of course, makes your blood pressure go down. So my blood pressure was like 100/60 the other day, which is actually pretty good for normal people, but for me that's like half of what it runs when I'm not taking my medicine. And of course, 200/120 is stroke levels, so you're not supposed to let it go that bad. But I've been taking my blood pressure regularly, and I'm like 130/60, and which is fine by me. 130 over 68, I think. 138 over 68 was what it was this morning. And when my blood pressure is like that, I feel fine. And I can walk and I don't get dizzy. And I think what happened was that my blood pressure was a little low. I'm going to blame the chemo. And so the blood pressure was a little low, and then I took my medicine, which makes it lower, and I take my cholesterol medicine, which was supposed to raise my blood pressure, but actually I think is making it lower too. And because that's what it says, one of the side effects is it can cause high blood pressure. And I think just my body trying to overreact, overcompensate or something, had low blood pressure, and that caused me to get the dizziness. I went and saw a doctor actually, and he checked and he said basically that, on days when when the blood pressure is okay without the medicine, don't take the medicine, which is of course completely opposite of what they always tell you. You should always take your blood pressure medicine all the time, day in, day out. You need to keep a steady level, but you're not having chemotherapy, so do what your doctor says. I'm having chemotherapy. The doctor says, cut out on the blood pressure medicine, so that's what I did. Other than that, I feel pretty good. I'm a little weak, a little tired. My voice sounds bad. It's not. I feel a lot better than my voice sounds right now. Let me tell you on that. Actually, I feel pretty good. I've walked up and down the stairs several times today. That's my exercise, is walking up and down stairs. I stayed vertical most of yesterday, and by that I mean that I, stayed in an upright position, either sitting or standing or walking, pretty much all day. I didn't spend a lot of time laying down in bed, which I'd done the previous days. That's kind of just how I recover from this chemotherapy, just lounge around in bed all day. Which is an interesting story. My girlfriend came to visit, and I was between chemotherapy treatments, so I felt pretty good, and we drove into town, and I drove. And I'd said something about just keep an eye on me and make sure I stay vertical. Well, in her mind, she didn't hear vertical. She heard something else. So I got a little pale or something, I think, when I was walking out to the car, and she says, "Are you still Camaro?" And I said, "What do you mean Camaro?" And you said, "You told me to keep an eye on you and make sure you stayed Camaro." And I'm like, "Honey, I have no idea what you're talking about." So she said, "Well, it's one of those C words, like that car over there." And she points to the car, and I said, "Like a Corvette?" And she says, "No, the top. And I said, "Convertible." "Yeah, you told me to stay convertible." And I said, "No." I said, "Keep an eye on me to make sure I stayed vertical." She says, "Yeah, convertible." And I said, "No, honey, vertical, not convertible." So apparently I said vertical, she heard convertible, and in her mind that translated to Camaro or Corvette, I guess. So, but they've not let me drive. My family, every time I even think about going out for something, I say, "What do you need? We'll go get it for you." So I've been living off little microwave meals, them little TV dinners, or them little complete meals all in one, where you just heat it in the microwave for a minute or two and be done. I've been eating off those. Normally in the past I would have said, forget about those. They're not worth the money, because I'd eat 2 or 3 of those in a meal. But now I'm eating 6 or 8 meals a day, just small meals spaced out, as opposed to 1 or 2 big meals. Supposed to help with the digestion. Actually, I've not had all that much nausea or vomit. No vomiting. Not all that much nausea. A little bit of an acidy, kind of a heartburnish, don't feel right stomach, which I've been taking some over-the-counter stuff. Which when I look around like this, it's because I set some stuff aside so that I could just bring and show it to you. And of course, it's never within arm's reach when I need it. Last week I had a real good fever. I got to use these little thermometers a lot. That's what delayed, I think's the word, yeah, delayed the chemotherapy that I should have gotten the week before last, and said I got it last week, because I was running a fever all week. And for me, normal is a fever. I normally run a little subnormal, a little below 98.6. But this week I've managed to, the fever's not there. I've hardly had to take any of my nausea medicine, just taking the antacid. I feel good today. Today's one of the days when I wish I was back at work, basically. I went and saw the doctor last week for this. As you can see, there we go. We are stupid, not a mirror. Okay, as you can see, I've got a line there that is the recovering from this little pump knot here where they installed the port, the power port, the purple power port, and they the doctor had said, take a couple weeks off, then you can go back to work. Then I went back, to see the doctor after a couple weeks. Well, give us a couple more weeks, go back to work. So I went back again, and again it is, give me a couple more weeks, then you can go back to work. And I'm beginning to suspect the doctor never wants me to go back to work, and is going to keep saying 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. But there are days when I feel full of energy, and I wish I was at work because it just gets boring sitting around the house watching television. And there are other days when I am glad I'm not back at work yet. But as soon as the doctor says that this is healed enough that I can return to work, then it stops becoming a matter of life or death if I work. It becomes a matter, because if this thing pulls loose, if this thing pulls open, the worst that can happen is the best that will happen is I'll have to go back into surgery, have this thing repositioned, have me put stitches back in. That's the best that can happen. The worst that can happen is there's a line from this port going up here into my jugular vein. The worst that happens is it jerks a hole in my jugular vein. In fact, I can feel right there. I can feel a little tube. The worst that can happen is it pulls a hole in my jugular vein, and before I realize what's happened, I bleed out internally. So I am, in spite of the fact that I think the doctor is being overly cautious about is this healed enough to return to work or not, I'm taking their word for it, because jerking a tube in your jugular vein loose could be very, very, very bad. But as soon as the doctor says I'm cleared to return to work, then it stops becoming a matter of life and death and starts becoming a matter of, do I feel like working that day? And the last few weeks I've had days, even several days in a row, when I wish I was scheduled. I wish I could return to work. I wish they could put me on the schedule and take me back to work. Other days, of course, like when I've got the vertigo and I can't, stand up, naturally I can't work those days. But usually in the morning when I get up, I've got a pretty good idea of how I'm going to feel that day. And today I feel pretty darn good. Just a little bit weak, a little bit tired. I don't know that I could work today. But I am going to try to get out into town today, maybe visit with some friends, do something. My mother's been just begging me to go out to eat with her. She's been staying home taking care of me. She's a bit of a social butterfly these days, always trying to find somebody to go out to eat with, someone to go out and catch a movie or something, just because she's been stuck at home for so long. She's trying to get out, and she's trying to drag me along with her. She feels guilty if she goes out and eats and doesn't take me with her. So we're going to try to go out to eat today, maybe catch a movie or something, try to recover. Like I said, I see the doctor again in a couple of weeks. Maybe we can get this cleared up. Unfortunately, about the same day I'm scheduled to go back to the doctor to get cleared on this, I'm scheduled to start my next chemotherapy. So I may be cleared to return to work and then immediately not be able to work because I'm sick as a dog from the chemotherapy. But so far, so good. Still high spirits. We have no idea if the chemotherapy has done anything to the cancer yet, just so you know. The plan is to go through another course, just like I've already had. Once we finish the second course, then we reevaluate. And I think that means we're going to take some CT scans. We're going to, figure out if there's been any change and judge our future treatment from that. If it's affecting the chemo, if the chemo is affecting the cancer, making it go away, then I guess we're going to continue the cancer, continue the chemo. If not, then I suppose we'll have to try something different or switch from we hope to cure you to let's manage your pain. I don't think we're quite at that point yet, but a lot of people I've talked to have basically said that once you hit stage 4 of any type of cancer, you got 1 or 2 shots with the chemo and then they give up on you. Well, I'm not giving up just yet. And if my local doctor doesn't want to continue after this, then I've got other doctors lined up. I am not planning on going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, well, like I said, I'm going to gonna try to get this video edited and up today. I know I've not been getting enough videos up, and update my Facebook because everybody's worried about me. And then I'm going to try to go out to eat and maybe grab a bite to grab a movie or something. I don't know yet. Depends on how I feel once I actually get out into town. I'm going to try very hard to get the family to let me drive because I feel that good today. So Uncle Troy signing out. Please have a good night.